Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and today we're back with another Honkai Star Rail video. A lot of us are probably Trailblaze level 60, maybe pushing beyond if we started on day 1 as well. We will start to see our screen looking a lot like this as well, where we have tons of 5-star gear, because the Cavern of Corrosion after Trailblaze level 60 drops 2 per run, so you'll be having ton of these. If you're like me, like maybe sometimes you don't really know whether you're going to need the gear or not in future, so you end up hoarding a lot of them until your screen looks like this. This video is definitely meant for you. I want to share with you 5 tips that I have and how I do my filtering criteria to decide what I want to salvage or maybe use as fodder EXP if you find yourself needing a little bit more EXP for your materials as well. Basically, for those of you who want a TLDR, is a weighing of probabilities in terms of how likely are you going to get this relic in future versus how likely are you going to use it in future as well. That's the long story short. If you want more details, I'm going to just jump in with tip number 1 right now. And the first tip that I have is really looking at, for example, the gloves that you have and as well as the helmets that you have. Over here you can see I already removed a lot of the gloves, just keeping 1, but helmets is also the same process. The HP that you have here in the main stat is fixed, and same for the arms is flat attack. What this means is the probability of you getting this relic back in future is going to be much higher than you are getting these other 4, especially if like you have a random like stats like these, defense, crit rate and effect hit rate. Probably not going to be very difficult to find again. You can go ahead and like salvage these pretty common pieces. That's the first tip that I have when your main stat is fixed. The second tip that I want to talk about, since we are on this screen here and I have some that are locked, the question then comes is which main stat or that is fixed, for example like the helmets and glove, do you want to keep for future? And I think 4 liners are very efficient to keep. The reason for that is, for those of you who don't know, you get a total of like 5 upgrades from level 0 all the way to 15, and these 5 upgrades, if you have a 3-liner, one of them will be used to open a new slot. So 3 liners versus 4 liners will always be at a disadvantage of 1 row regardless of what it is in. And of course, if you have like all 4 perfect substats, the inefficiency difference is going to be even greater, because maybe you're losing out on an attack percentage, maybe you're losing out on a break effect or effect hit rate and stuff like that. So stat efficiency wise, 3 is always a handicap compared to 4. That is the first thing that we want to know as well. But not all 3 are useless, because some of them you can unlock and maybe you get nice crit rate, crit damage, or attack crit rate, crit damage. Perfectly fine as well. That will be tip number 2. Just a bonus one, I want to just squeeze it in since we're on the topic of 4 liners. One thing that you want to know is if you have a split, for example, attack, maybe offensive in 2 and defensive in 2, that will be like a lower priority in my opinion. Not many characters are split scaling other than March 7 off the top of my head right now, maybe Japart and Fire MC to some extent, but you will find more split scaling gear compared to the number of characters that you have. And upcoming, I don't think there's going to be a disproportionately large amount of characters that benefit from both defensive and offensive stats all at once. Might be fewer and far between, so that will be like a lower priority. For example, if it's like defense, attack, effect hit rate, effect rest, that won't really rank very highly on my list of important stuff to keep. You can easily find one in future. Another thing, other than that, 4 liners that I would definitely keep regardless is speed. A 4-liner with speed, and the reason for that is speed rolling is extremely difficult to get. If you are looking for anything like plus 12 or higher, you're going to find it tremendously difficult in future to get a plus 12 speed. So 4-liners with speed, regardless of what it is, what main stat it is, in other sets that you have, keep it please. You'll find tons of value in future. So I'm going to practice what I preach. I'm going to go ahead and just select all of them. I already filtered like the ones with 4-liners, and I'm going to go ahead and eliminate most of them. And once you hit like Trailblaze level 60, you will realize that the sets don't really matter as much. You'll be really like moving through most of them just to get your characters geared up. You can easily like run through maybe fire domains and stuff. So don't worry too much about the stats for the main 4. I think the one that I want to talk about, which is like tip number 3, which is a lot harder, will be the link ropes as well as the planar spheres. These are much harder to get, not because the difficulty is harder to get them, they are rarer or anything. In fact, it's quite easy to get a nice planar sphere and link rope. Why I say it's harder is because it takes a lot more time to go in through the simulated universe to like farm 4 rounds compared to just like going into the Cavern of Corrosion, auto battling like these stages and getting a lot more rewards that way. So if you are talking about time differential, if you are a busy person, maybe you are schooling, you're working, or have other things on your plate, you just want to go in AFK, like your phone there or your computer alternate tab and stuff like that. So that is one thing to consider. You will likely have more of these 4 rather than these 2, and that is another reason why I won't really recommend you remove this. Also, for the fact, the next thing I want to talk about is, let me just go into the synthesis machine, where I think it's clearer if I show you all at once, and you will really see the versatility of these sets as well. So out of all of these like 8 sets, the chance of you finding something that is useful is very high, because this is pretty versatile. This is also very versatile. This also very versatile with effect hit rate, and I guess it's easier to say which is not versatile, right? The Battle Box of Architects is probably like the least versatile one, because it's defense. You don't really need defense as much as even, for example, HP, and this buffs your team. This one maybe not so much. Celestial Differentiator is probably also the second least versatile one, because crit damage, meaning that a lot of your supports won't really have that high crit rate in the first place. So these 2 are probably like the worst ones in terms of versatility for your overall account. Other ones, even like Inert Salsoto, anyone can use crit rate, even your supports, because their basic attacks can also crit, which benefits them too. And even Kingdom of Banditry Talia here, also break effect is really nice to have for most characters in future. Just good to hold on to a good one as well. And Sprightly Bomback, energy restoration rate. Every character has energy restoration rate. So that is like the second or the third tip why I think that you actually want to keep these Planispheres as well as Link Ropes and not salvage them instead. They are going to be tons of value for your overall account. And in the same line, some of you might be looking at this Valuable Architects one that I have here. Lightning damage bonus, likely no one is going to use this anytime soon. But as I mentioned, the speed is really important for me. I'm keeping the speed as much as I can, because I think it's going to be useful if you're trying to find very good speed gear in future. When the Memory of Chaos mobs move very fast, it's going to take a lot of time to farm good speed gear. So start saving now this speed gear that you have. So in the same vein, I think at the same point of time, I want to talk about speed gear here, which is probably my tip number 4. I think I have it somewhere around speed boot. Most of them are leveled up on my account. I hardly have like speed gear that's left at level 0. I build my account mainly around speed. It's probably the most versatile set, because anyone can use speed, except for the exception of maybe Clara, and to some extent maybe Fire MC might not care too much about speed. But by and large, every other character in the game does benefit quite well from speed. And I think that the 4th tip that I have is, any speed boot that you have, keep it first. Especially if it's on a versatile set, for example like Guard of Wuthering Snow, Massacre of Wildweed, or the Thief of Shooting Meteor. Those sets, tons of value. Keep your speed gear. That will be tip number 4. Okay, and the final tip that I have in terms of what to keep will have to be specifically for the body. Out of all of the gear, and this is probably the tip that's going to be a bit more situational depending on your circumstance, what I think that this is very important to keep is, you want to keep the HP, the main stat, for the body. And the reason for that is, if you look at the different effects available, a lot of your DPSs are going to use crit rate and crit damage, and outgoing healing bonus is going to be only useful for healers, effect hit rate, or debuffers. But by and large, the rest of the team, which includes a lot of your support buffers, maybe some tanks even, that don't really care. I think that out of all the stats in the game, probably the most versatile one is going to be HP. HP percentage for your character as well. Not only HP percentage can work with Guard of Wuthering Snow's effect of, for example, healing base of max HP as well. You also get a bit more survivability on a lot of your characters, especially if you can find ones that give some good amounts of speed as well. I think these bodies with HP percentage main stat are going to be tremendously good value. Just like switch around like your supportive characters, harmony characters, maybe some nihility characters, some debuffers in future as well. Going to be good value, since not everyone cares too much about crit rate, crit damage, effect hit rate, and outgoing healing bonuses as well. Attack and defense, on the other hand, not as useful, because it's really much more niche. Certain characters use that stat a bit more, and damage, as you realize, doesn't really matter as much as survivability, especially if your Tingyin and Asta keep getting attacked. Okay, and those are like the 5 tips that I have for you. But now I think something a bit more interesting. I'm going to go with the remaining ones for these 4 that have all like varied main stat, and I'm going to salvage them and roll them into gear as well, just for the fun of this ending of this video, so that you can see my thought process too. I think that effect hit rate, I generally would, for example, keep one of this. I'll keep one of this as well, because It's always nice to have the first one, and if you get a replacement one that is better, I'll unlock this one and keep the other one. These generally you only will need at most one. I don't think there's a quantum healer that is going to come anytime soon. Who knows, right? Depending on the situation. So stuff like that, I already have one outgoing healing bonus here with a bit nicer stats. I think it's harder to find, so I will get rid of this one, even though this might be more beneficial for a pure healer, but who knows. I'll just get rid of that first. I don't really care too much about this. Not really bothered by a defense main stat chest, as mentioned already. For boots, let's see. I don't really care about HP boots here. Not very important, even though it's a 4-liner, but doesn't really have too many interesting stats here. Looking mainly for speed that I'm focusing on. Nothing useful here. Okay, speed, I don't mind keeping it first. But actually no, not really, because it's a boot. So if I wanted speed, I would just look for the main stat. So I don't really care about this one actually. And this, I don't care too much about this. This 4-liner, okay, I think I'll keep this because it's a defensive set as well, with a main stat that's relatively defensive, with decent split all around that I could see it being usable, and I'll just keep it for now. This is not very useful. Other than that, Bellabog of Architects, I don't care about this at all. This defense set on the defense piece, definitely good value, and it's a 4-liner too, so I'll keep that. I don't care about this, don't care about this, don't care about this, don't care about that too. And I don't care about... Okay, so this is like a defense Inert Salsoto and with some speed. So even though it's defense that's kind of meh, I'll still keep it. I like some speed, especially on a generic set like that. This one I don't care much about. For I have one already, and this is like kind of meh, so I'll get rid of that. I don't really farm this one that much, so I'll keep that. I don't really farm these as much, so I'll keep this as well. I will generally farm more of this and maybe this in future. Spidey Vonback hardly farm this, so I'm not going to touch that. Inert Salsoto is probably where I touch more, so I can just filter stuff that I don't really care too much about. Celestial Differentiator, don't really care too much about defense. Break Effect is always nice to have. You could always just use the main stat. For now, attack with speed, I'll keep that first. No speed in here, and the rest of them I hardly touch. So I'll go ahead and salvage these as well. Okay, so now that we have salvaged all of them, I'm just going to do a fun one. I'm going to do some synthesis to see what we get. Hopefully I get something good as well. So I already talked about another video on like where I'm actually allocating my resources, what I'm finding. But basically I'm actually just going to do everything on the planisphere. I'm just looking for nice pieces for more of my characters. I want the main stat correct. Let's go ahead and craft it and see what we get. Hopefully not all junk and at least one usable. I'm looking for Quantum, so if that is okay, so this is perfect because I'm using Celestial Differentiator right now and I want to switch to Quantum. So that's really nice. Yeah, I think this is pretty much a win for me in my opinion, even though it's not crit rate, crit damage. I just needed the main stat as well. So yeah, if you guys like such content where I just go through my thought process as well, do like and subscribe for more of such future videos. Check on these two other videos I have here as well. And thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.